My wife cheated with her coworker while I worked double shifts to pay our bills, so I quietly collected evidence and walked away, leaving her life in ruins. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and for most of my marriage, I genuinely believed that the best way to show love was by providing. That's what I saw my father do. That's what every older man in my family preached. A good husband is a hard-working husband. So when Lila told me she needed time to find herself, I took it as my responsibility to hold everything steady while she figured things out. I picked up double shifts, sometimes triple when someone called out, because I didn't want money to be the reason she felt stuck. I remember coming home at 2 a.m., smelling like grease and burnt coffee, and whispering, "At least this is for us." She would already be asleep, face turned away from my side of the bed, but I took it as exhaustion. I'd kiss her shoulder lightly and tell myself that someday she would understand what all of this sacrifice meant. On nights when she was awake, she'd sigh dramatically as I walked in. "You're stressing me out," she'd say. "You're obsessing over money again." I'd apologize every single time because I thought maybe I was pushing too hard. Maybe she really did need space. Maybe I was being unfair expecting her to carry emotional weight while I handled the financial one. When I asked about the new classes she was taking or why she suddenly had so many errands, she brushed me off with, "Babe, you're tired. This is just stress talking." And God, I believed her. I believed every word because the idea of her lying simply didn't exist in my mind. I ignored the late nights. I ignored the way she'd quickly turn her phone over. I ignored how she stopped waiting up for me. Instead, I doubled down. Told my manager I could take even more hours. Told myself I was building our future. I didn't realize I was giving her the space to destroy it, piece by piece. I wish I could say the first signs were obvious, but they weren't. Not to someone who trusted as blindly as I did. It started with little things, like Lila coming home later than usual and shrugging it off with, "Traffic was insane," even though I knew her office was 15 minutes away. One night, she walked in wearing a dress I'd never seen before, hair curled, makeup too perfect for a staff meeting, and when I asked how it went, she just muttered, "Exhausting," and went straight to the shower. The water ran so long I sat on the edge of our bed wondering why I felt like a guest in my own home. I finally asked her, "Hey, is everything okay? You've been out later and later lately." She rolled her eyes so hard I felt them cut right through me. "Can you stop being paranoid for once? You're overworked. It's making you weird." That word, weird, hit harder than it should have. She said it like I was some clingy husband tracking her every move when all I wanted was reassurance. She grabbed her phone from the counter, screen face down as always, and added, "If you don't trust me, that's a you problem." Then she walked past me smelling like a perfume she never wore around me. Something heavier, something unfamiliar. My stomach twisted, but I told myself I was just tired. That double shifts were messing with my head. That Lila would never betray me. She couldn't, not after everything we'd built. But the cracks were spreading fast. She stopped texting me during the day. She stopped asking about my shifts. She started going out with coworkers more often and never offered details. Meanwhile, friends at work told me gently, "Man, be careful. Working this much, it changes home dynamics." I laughed it off, pretending I wasn't quietly drowning in doubt. And yet, even with the unease growing in my chest, I convinced myself to swallow it, to trust her, to push through. I didn't know those cracks were about to split open in ways I couldn't ignore. The shift from something feels off till I know something is wrong happened slowly, almost quietly, like a leak under floorboards. It started when Lila mentioned a coworker named Mason. At first, it was casual. Mason said the meeting was pointless, or Mason brought donuts. But then it became constant. She laughed harder when she said his name. She lit up in ways I hadn't seen in months. And every time she talked about him, something in my chest tightened. Not jealousy, but a strange kind of dread. One night, I asked gently, "So, who exactly is Mason?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "Just someone from work." "What?" "I've just heard his name a lot," I said. Her head snapped up. "Are you seriously doing this? God, you're suffocating me lately." Suffocating. Meanwhile, I was barely home long enough to breathe. She stormed off, typing furiously on her phone, and I heard the small chime of a message being sent before she slammed the bedroom door. When I walked past the crack of the door, I saw her curled away from the light, hiding her screen like she was shielding a secret from me. Then came the cologne. It wasn't mine. It wasn't anything I wore. She came home late one evening smelling unmistakably like a man had been close. Too close. My throat tightened as I forced myself to ask, "Is that new perfume?" She scoffed. "Oh my God, not this again. It's from someone at work hugging everyone goodbye. You're imagining things." But I wasn't imagining the way she stiffened when I stepped near her. I wasn't imagining the way she started dressing differently. More fitted clothes, deeper necklines, heels she hadn't touched in years. I tried to shake it off. Told myself I was being dramatic. Told myself she was allowed to look nice. But my gut was screaming. And for the first time, I couldn't silence it anymore. I didn't wake up one morning deciding to investigate my own wife. It happened because the doubt became a physical weight, sitting on my chest, choking me every time she walked out the door with that same rehearsed, "Don't wait up." One night, after another argument about her long hours, I sat alone in the kitchen staring at her abandoned car keys. Something inside me cracked. Not anger, not jealousy, just the painful realization that I needed the truth, even if it destroyed me. When she went to shower, I quietly checked the car's built-in GPS history. My hands shook as I scrolled through addresses. A cafe she never mentioned. A park she hated. A residential home nowhere near her office. My heart hammered so loudly I could hear it over the running water upstairs. Why would she be here? I whispered to myself, staring at the screen like it might answer me. The next day at work, a coworker casually mentioned, "Hey, I think I saw your wife near Melrose the other day with some dude." Thought it might be a relative. I forced a smile. Yeah, maybe. But my stomach dropped hard. Melrose was one of the GPS locations. That night, when Lila came home late again, I asked softly, "Where were you?" She didn't miss a beat. "Work. You know that. Your office is closed on Sundays," I said, voice barely above a whisper. She froze for half a second, just long enough to confirm everything. Then she lifted her chin. "You're tracking my schedule now? What is wrong with you?" She pushed past me, slamming the bedroom door. She didn't know I already had the first thread of the truth. And threads unravel fast. Sitting alone in the dark living room, staring at the GPS logs glowing in my hand, I realized something sickening. Lila wasn't just drifting away from me. She was living a life I knew nothing about. And I had only scratched the surface of what she was hiding. I used to think snooping was something insecure people did. People who didn't trust their partners. But when the person you love starts living like a stranger in your own home, you stop caring about labels and start caring about the truth. One night, after Lila fell asleep with her back to me, like she had been doing for weeks, I got out of bed quietly and walked to the living room with her laptop. My hands were trembling so hard I had to grip the edges of the device just to steady myself. I didn't know what I expected to find, but I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep until I checked. To my surprise, she wasn't even logged out of her email. I froze. There it was, her inbox wide open, like a door she thought I'd never walk through. I typed Mason into the search bar. The results popped up instantly. Dozens of messages. The first one I clicked was short. "Had fun today? Same time next week." The reply, from Lila. "Absolutely. I needed that escape." My throat tightened. I opened another. "Can't stop thinking about you." Her answer. "Me neither." It felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped something out. I scrolled further and found photos, not explicit, but intimate. Them at a restaurant. Them laughing together. Her sitting in my car, leaning into him, their hands brushing. I whispered to myself, "This can't be real." She wouldn't. But the universe wasn't done destroying me yet. I checked the trash folder. Dozens more emails. Deleted Google Drive pictures. Screenshots of reservations she said were self-care spa days. It hit me that she never expected me to look. She thought I trusted her too much to doubt her. She counted on that. When I heard her shift in the bedroom, I hurriedly closed the laptop, heart pounding, sweat collecting on my neck. I had evidence now. Proof she couldn't talk her way out of. But the worst part? I had no idea just how deep the betrayal truly went, and I was about to find out. I thought the emails and photos were the worst of it. I thought I'd already felt the deepest cut a person could feel from someone they trusted. But life has a cruel way of showing you that the knife can go deeper, much deeper. A few days after discovering the messages, I got a text from an acquaintance at Lila's workplace. He wasn't a close friend, just someone who knew me well enough to hesitate before sending what he did. When I opened the attachment, my entire world tilted. It was a shaky, zoomed-in phone video. Lila and Mason walking out of a motel together. Her hair messy, his hand on the small of her back. Both laughing like they had just shared a joke only lovers would understand. My fingers went numb. The room spun. I replayed it 3 times just to be sure I wasn't imagining things. I whispered, "No, no, she wouldn't do this to me." But the video didn't care about my denial. It just kept playing, mocking me with every pixel. Later that night, while Lila showered, I dug deeper into her emails. That's when I found something that shattered whatever was left of me. A thread between her and her friend Jenna. Jenna had written, "Isn't it risky seeing Mason so often?" Lila replied, "Hope he's never home. He's too busy playing provider to notice anything. Besides, once he saves enough, I'll be out of here. Out of here. Out of here. Not just cheating, planning a future without me. A future built on the back of the hours I was breaking my body to work." And the worst part? The affair didn't start after I began working double shifts. It started before I ever picked them up. I wasn't covering bills for my marriage. I was funding their dates, their little escapes, their perfect secret life together. When she stepped out of the shower that night, humming softly, wrapped in my towel like nothing was wrong, I felt something inside me finally break. And for the first time, I stopped wondering why she was doing this, and started planning what I was going to do next. The night I realized the affair started before my double shifts was the night something inside me hardened. Not into anger. Anger burns too hot and too fast. This was colder, sharper, a kind of clarity I'd never felt before. I decided then that I wasn't going to scream, confront, or beg. I wasn't going to give Lila the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. If she wanted a performance, she picked the wrong man. The next morning, while she slept peacefully, I slipped out of bed and drove to a lawyer's office before my shift. The lawyer, a calm older man with gray hair and tired eyes, listened quietly as I explained everything. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "Don't confront her. Not yet. Keep gathering evidence. Move in silence." His tone was steady, almost surgical. I nodded, swallowing the bitter taste in my mouth. That's what I want. I don't want drama. I want strategy. At home, I pretended everything was normal. "Hey, babe," I said casually as she scrolled on her phone. She glanced up, surprised. "You're in a good mood." "Just tired of stressing," I said, smiling. "Trying to focus on us again." She smiled back, relieved. She had no idea she was smiling at her own downfall. Over the next few days, I made copies of everything. Emails, photos, deleted messages, GPS logs, even screenshots of the motel video. I uploaded them to a secure drive the lawyer could access. Whenever Lila left the house, I collected bank statements, insurance documents, and anything that showed our finances clearly. I opened a new bank account in my name only and redirected my paycheck. I canceled the automatic bill payments she never contributed to. I packed a small bag and hid it in my car trunk, just in case I had to leave quickly. The more I prepared, the calmer I felt. It was strange, like watching a storm you've tracked for weeks finally move into place. And still, Lila kept lying, kept disappearing, kept sneaking around with Mason like she was untouchable. She didn't realize that every step she took was tightening the noose she'd built for herself. And I was almost ready to pull it. The moment everything inside me finally collapsed didn't come from a video or an email. It came from hearing Lila speak about me like I was nothing, like I was some joke she'd been stringing along. It happened on a Tuesday evening when I got home early. I parked down the street because I planned to grab a few documents I forgot to scan for my lawyer. When I walked up to the door, I heard her voice inside, loud, animated, dripping with a kind of cruelty I'd never heard from her before. She was on speakerphone. "Honestly," she laughed, "Opie is just so pathetic. He works all the time because he thinks money equals love. It's embarrassing." I froze, my hand on the doorknob, my heart in my throat. Her friend snorted. "Doesn't he ever suspect anything?" Lila scoffed. "Please. He's too busy playing the hard-working husband. Mason actually treats me like a woman. Opie just comes home smelling like sweat and exhaustion." I felt something inside me crack so loudly I swore she'd hear it. Another voice chimed in, "Jenna, so when are you leaving him?" Lila sighed dramatically. "Once he stabilizes the savings. Why should I leave now? Let him pay the bills while I enjoy my life." Enjoy my life. My wife, enjoying her life, while I broke my back for us. I wasn't even angry in that moment. I felt empty, hollow, like someone had scooped my insides out and replaced them with static. I leaned my forehead against the door, breathing quietly, listening as Lila continued tearing apart everything I thought we had. Then I heard it, her giggle, the same giggle she used to save for me. Anyway, she said, Mason's coming over later. Hope he won't be home till midnight. My chest tightened so painfully I had to hold the railing just to stay upright. That was my rock bottom. Not the cheating, not the lies, not the motel. It was hearing the woman I sacrificed everything for speak about me like I was disposable. And in that moment, I knew, if I stayed quiet any longer, I'd lose more than a marriage. I'd lose myself. After hearing Lila talk about me like I was a walking paycheck, something inside me settled, not in defeat, but in resolve. I didn't cry. I didn't break anything. I didn't even walk inside. I just turned around, got back in my car, and sat there in absolute silence, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. That was the moment I realized I wasn't fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for my dignity. The next morning, while she slept, I started gathering the final pieces of what my lawyer called irrefutable ammunition. Birth certificates, insurance info, tax returns, loan documents, everything that painted a clear picture of our financial reality. I snapped photos of every statement where I paid the bills alone. I collected proof that she stopped contributing months ago. I scanned everything into the encrypted folder the lawyer set up for me. At work, during my break, I called my lawyer. Everything's ready, I said quietly. He replied, good. Don't confront her. We'll file this week. Just keep calm. Keep calm. Easier said than done when you're living with the person destroying your life. At home, I kept my performance flawless. Hey babe, want me to grab dinner? I asked casually. She didn't even look up. No, Mason and I already grabbed food after work. I told you that. She hadn't told me anything. But I smiled anyway. Right? Must have slipped my mind. She smirked like she'd won something. I packed slowly, methodically. A few shirts, documents, my laptop, essential toiletries. I had everything in a gym bag in the trunk of my car, making sure the house looked untouched. Every night before bed, I rehearsed my exit in my head. Not a confrontation, not a dramatic scene, just a clean break, a surgical removal of myself from her life. And Lila, she walked around the house humming, scrolling, lying, planning her future with another man, never noticing the quiet storm building right under her roof. She had no idea I was mere days away from disappearing from her life completely and taking her comfort with me. The morning I executed my plan felt unreal, like I was moving through thick air, every step slow but deliberate. Lila thought I had another long shift, so she barely glanced at me when I grabbed my keys. Don't forget we're low on groceries, she mumbled, not looking up from her phone. I nodded, pretending I hadn't already removed my card from our shared account. As soon as I stepped outside, I didn't drive to work. I drove back to the house once she left, parking in the driveway of a life that was no longer mine. The silence inside felt different that day. Not heavy, not sad, just final. I moved quietly, like someone performing a ritual. I placed a thick folder on the kitchen table, one I'd spent days building. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, photos, bank statements, the motel video stills, everything. On top, I placed the divorce papers. I set my house key beside them, the metal clicking softly against the wood. It felt symbolic, like the last sound of a chapter closing. For a moment, I stood in the kitchen and took in the room I had worked so hard to maintain. The fridge I stocked, the bills I paid, the home I built for a woman who didn't want me. Then I walked down the hallway to our bedroom one last time. The smell of her perfume lingered, a mix of sweetness and lies. I didn't touch anything. I didn't take anything more than what belonged to me. I wanted her to walk into a house that looked just normal enough until she saw the table. When I stepped outside, I locked the door behind me. Not angrily, not dramatically, just done. In the car, my phone buzzed. A message from Lila. Hey, can you pick up milk? Mason's coming later and I want to bake something. I stared at the screen, felt the last thread of emotion break, and blocked her number without replying. By the time she got home, I would be unreachable, gone, a ghost. And waiting for her inside was the truth she'd buried under months of lies, laid out neatly and silently destroying the future she thought she had. According to the plan, I kept my phone off for hours after leaving. I found a small motel across town, checked in under my own name, and just sat on the edge of the bed staring at the ceiling, waiting for the explosion I knew was coming. It didn't take long. When I finally turned my phone back on, it lit up like a dying star, dozens of missed calls, frantic voicemails, and messages that started with confusion, then anger, then outright panic. Her last text before I blocked her the first time had been casual. Now the ones flooding through were fragments of someone watching their world collapse. Where are you? What is all this? Please answer me. This isn't what you think. Can we talk? Please. I didn't respond. Not one word. While she spiraled, the second wave of fallout began. Quiet, methodical, and unstoppable. My lawyer filed the divorce with all the evidence attached: financial abandonment, adultery, misconduct. Every detail documented in a way she couldn't wriggle out of. And because her affair was with a coworker, HR got an anonymous packet too. Screenshots, emails, dates, times, pictures. By afternoon, her workplace was buzzing. I knew because someone from the company, someone who once called Lila a role model, messaged me privately. Dude, she's in deep trouble. Mason's wife just stormed into the building. I stared at the message, a strange sense of calm washing over me. I didn't rejoice. I didn't smirk. I simply breathed. Later, I heard from a mutual friend that Mason had been escorted out by security after a shouting match in the hallway. And Lila? She was put on leave pending internal review. A polite corporate way of saying, your career is hanging by a thread you frayed yourself. Her friends began distancing themselves. Some blocked her. Others sent me quiet apologies, admitting they had suspected something was off, but didn't want to get involved. Meanwhile, I watched it all unfold from the outside. Detached, steady, and strangely empty. This wasn't revenge. This was truth catching up. And Lila still had no idea the biggest consequence was yet to hit her. The strange thing about leaving a toxic marriage is that the world feels unnervingly quiet at first. I spent the first few days in that cheap motel listening to the hum of the air conditioner, letting silence fill the space where Lila's chaos used to be. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think. No accusations. No dismissive sighs. No walking on eggshells just to keep the peace in a house that was never really mine. I breathed differently, slowly, deeply, like my lungs were relearning freedom. Lila didn't stop trying to reach me. Even after I blocked her, she used unknown numbers, emails, even sent messages through old friends. It was a mistake. You misunderstood. We can fix this. And the one that made me close my laptop for the night. I never meant to hurt you. But she did. And she didn't stop. And the worst part? She never apologized for the betrayal. Only the consequences. Meanwhile, my lawyer updated me on her unraveling. Mason's wife filed for separation. HR had enough evidence to begin termination procedures for both of them. And because all the financial records showed I'd been the sole provider for months while she used my money for her escapades, I was protected legally. She couldn't touch my new account. She couldn't claim spousal support. She couldn't spin a narrative that survived the evidence. For once, the truth was on my side. Clean, clear, and undeniable. I moved into a small apartment 2 weeks later. Just a one-bedroom with creaky floors and cheap blinds. But when I stepped inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. I bought a new coffee maker, a small desk, and a mattress that didn't remind me of anyone else. Every morning, I woke up without dread. Every night, I slept without listening for lies. One evening, standing on my tiny balcony, I realized something. I didn't win by exposing her. I didn't win by watching her life fall apart. I won by walking away, quietly, completely, and without losing myself in the process. Sometimes the most brutal revenge is refusing to be part of someone's story ever again.